I feel like this season is a collection of moments more than it is a coherent kind of well-structured story, because what you have here is Grogu having this moment where he is, he remembers Order 66 again, and nothing becomes of it. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of The Script Department. We're back. We've had a little nap. We've had a few weeks off. We are back, ready and raring to go, and ready to spoil The Mandalorian Season 3. So if you haven't seen it yet, don't watch any further. John, welcome. I feel super weird about this series. I know that you're a bit more on board with it. I need you to tell me that it was all okay. Convince me that I'm wrong. Let's review this thing. Let's go.
I love Mandalorian, always have since day one, and I had a blast with this season. I think I enjoyed this season. I think I would have enjoyed this season more if it was more of a binge watch, because there are moments where I thought I really need the next episode now, just to kind of feel like things are moving forward, particularly with Bo-Katan stuff. And there are some episodes where it's kind of weirdly rushed in some places. There are some episodes where you kind of wonder what were they doing with that episode, like the one with Jack Black, for example.
Oh yeah,
Christopher Lloyd.
It's bizarre. Yeah,
it was a strange episode. But there is a thing to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni's credit. They have a way of adding immense value to these little moments later in future seasons. So I have no doubt in my mind we're getting another episode in season 4, or maybe in Book of Boba Fett season 2, or in Ahsoka or whatever, where Jack Black will be there doing his thing, and it'll be all the better because we had this previous episode, So I've been watching Clone Wars, and I've been watching Rebels and The Bad Batch, and there are good episodes and there are weaker episodes, and there are episodes where you're just plodding along to get to the next big plot point. I think Mandalorian falls into that same category. I think we wouldn't be so critical if it was animation, but because it's live action, I think we hold it to maybe unfairly to a higher level. I loved it. I thought it was great, and to be honest, that finale, for me, the spectacle of that finale is probably the best Star Wars I've ever seen, visually speaking.
Wow, really?
I was in awe of it.
You'd put that finale then above the sequence in Andor, that moment in Andor with the meteorites and all of that.
Again, that's all great, but that to me was, it's a character I've just met, or relatively just met, flying through flying through space, whereas this to me was like, it was like they had gone back in time and watched John playing with his Boba Fett toys and his Stormtrooper toys, and just bringing it all together. Like, I was getting goosebumps watching them just charging into airborne battle with these, and it was, and the ship flying into doing this kamikaze flight into the. My heart was in my throat the whole time, thinking, I hope he gets out. I hope he gets out. Axe, I think is his name. I hope he gets out. I just loved it. This fire consuming Gideon, and then and Grogu doing his thing, and keeping everybody alive in the bubble or whatever. I was welling up. Really, like, it was just, I felt like there was a culmination of a lot of special things happening here. I wish Gideon had been better introduced. I think they could have made better use of the pirate characters, for example. Maybe they could have been doing work for Gideon and thrown under the bus later. Like, you guys are just pirates, what the hell, I did think the pirates were a bit silly. He looked like a seaweed man, and he he looked like, the Thing or whatever, or not the Thing, what was it? Swamp Thing. He looked like Swamp Thing. Yeah. And then on top of that, he has a ship that looks like a pirate ship. Like, it's got the galley and the spinning wheel and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, this is ridiculous. Like, this is genuinely, it's bad enough that Star Destroyers are pointy. You don't need them to be pointy in space. They're not cutting through waves or anything. but they look cool, so you go with it.
Yeah.
But in this instance, there was just no need for it to look like Pirates of the Caribbean, and it kind of did. And it was very, very like they had plucked it from the art department of an old Pirates of the Caribbean, archive or something. That was a bit silly, and I think it's the Jack Black episode at the beginning where Axe and the gang, I think his name is Axe, correct me if I'm wrong, but
I think so.
The Mandalorian crew, Bo-Katan's former crew, they're interrupting love in space, and it is laughable. It is hilariously bad in terms of how cringy laughable it is. If I never see an Admiral Akbar type character again, I'll be happy. It was silly, and it's just, but we're meant to be together, or whatever it was. And I was just, and my wife and Michaela as well, we were falling all over the ground laughing at how hysterically bad this was. And we have a high tolerance for weird Star Wars stuff.
Totally,
But this just had me on the floor. But then Jack Black is in the episode, and I'm laughing at the sight of Jack Black just being Jack Black, former Empire, crony, and then
did it.
And then Christopher Lloyd. Did you see the meme that's going around with Christopher Lloyd?
No. What was that?
So in Back to the Future, Christopher Lloyd got stuck in a galaxy far, far away and a long time ago, and he inadvertently gave birth to the Mandalorian religion because they misinterpreted man in the DeLorean. Which is so clever. I mean, hats off to all them.
I like that. I like that a lot.
But then I thought that a whole episode was rushed. And here's your sword. Oh, by the way, she owns it. It's fine. This whole kind of.
You know what? That whole thing, right? That whole business of, well, technically, she defeated the guy that defeated me, so technically she wins it. That had been, and I think this is the crux of my issue with the Mandalorian now, and it goes back to those episodes in the Book of Boba Fett, is that they were, for the first 2 seasons of the Mandalorian, they were going on a specific path. They were going down the route of lone gunslinger with his ward, and part of this cult that is really not very good for him, and they're kind of weird, and it's all a bit intense and everything. And then suddenly we get to the Book of Boba Fett, and he's shunned from the cult and everything. It's, oh, wow, that's brilliant. Grogu's found Luke Skywalker in the thing. And then you get to the end of the Book of Boba Fett, and suddenly, oh, no, it's okay. Grogu's back with Mando now, and they're going to go do this. Okay, fine. And I don't think, the Lucasfilm merchandising department would never let that character go. But I personally don't think he has any business being in this show anymore. He should be off with Luke Skywalker for at least a season and then bring him back. Maybe. Just give us a little break from that. Let Mando do his thing and actually let us feel the emotional weight of his loss. And then we get to this season, and suddenly it's all, though. Cult's all right. Cult's going to be fine. Yeah. Let's bring these two things together. And suddenly the Cult's fine again. He was redeemed within the first 3 episodes maybe, way earlier than, and that was, he got captured and stuff like that, but it was way too early in the season. No one ever thought there was going to be any danger to him there in any way. There were no stakes in there, and it completely undermined the whole premise of the show so far, which for me had been this thing of the whole separation and the understanding that actually I thought this season was going to go, he tries to redeem himself, he manages to redeem himself, but then realizes actually there's more to life, and I'm just going to take off my damn helmet if I want to take off my damn helmet. And I think that they've missed a trick by allowing that to go by, because it undercuts the previous seasons in that way. And it trivializes the fact that this big deal thing that he was taking off his helmet is now trivialized, because he can just go for a bath, and it's now just like, well, that's it's all good and fine. And I felt that was just way too easy. And then so I think I think it's because as a structural thing for me, it all felt really, really rushed. And I agree with you, by the way. The final episode there, with the action figures in the sky and all this, that, and the other, which I totally agree with you. It's exactly what it was for me as well. And Grogu with the fire and everything, wonderful, loved it. But I feel as though I felt, for me, it didn't feel like it was earned. I think, and it didn't feel like we actually got there with any kind of real thing. You made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching. We enjoy talking about that stuff, and all those things those people were saying, they were really interesting, weren't they? I totally agree with you. They totally were. And if you find that interesting, you're going to love these other videos here. You should check them out too, because they're particularly good. And if you want to find others, maybe think about subscribing to us. Yeah, you should. Ring the bell as well. Ringing the bell helps us very much. Or check us out over on the audio side of things. Or maybe even buy us a coffee. Or you can email us. contact@thescriptdepartment.net. It's very good. We like it there too.